Ready to get started?
Absolutely. Welcome, everybody.
We agree. This is participatory. We can see all of you. It's very close. It's not like we're on a stage. Can I get a yes? Ready to get started?
Yes.
All right. Enthusiasm is infectious. We're all salespeople here, whether you like it or not. If you're investing, eventually you're selling somebody something.
Yeah, you're in sales.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Cory,
Well,
what is grid?
Welcome, everybody. Welcome today. Welcome to our Grid Knoxville Mastermind. Today we're going to be diving into how to estimate repairs and renovations, how to really minimize your expenses to kind of maximize those profits, right? This is a very important topic to get familiar with because in doing this and some of the stuff we're going to go over today, this will help you at least be able to quickly analyze properties from a desktop, essentially, such that you don't have to necessarily go drive across town in order to decide if this is going to make sense or not. This will at least give you some good frameworks around it to know whether or not this might be something, hey, I want to pull the trigger on this. That's what we're going to get into today. So, what is Grid? Grid is our global network. This is the largest agent-led investor network. This is led by investors for investors. Understanding, too, that we are not gurus up here to necessarily talk from on high. This is a very conversational level meetup. We are just essentially real people doing real deals in real time, sharing our experiences with you, and we trust that you'll share your experiences with us, right? So that's what we are. That's what we're here. That's what we're all about. And really our mission in all this is to...
Can I jump in?
Please do.
Yes.
Please jump in.
So our mission is to stand at the door of financial freedom and hold it open for as many people as possible, right? So it's to connect, learn from, and collaborate with like-minded people. So we want to have a room where everyone feels comfortable collaborating with each other, right? That's, if you have a culture of trust, you can do deals more effectively, right? When we collaborate, we all make more money, and because we think the secret to being successful is like be the nicest and most prepared person, and then go work harder, right? So that's our mission there, because we want to build wealth and impact people directly through real estate, because it's a vehicle that's open to everyone, right? Everyone can build real estate. It's one of the last meritocracies left. So we're really passionate about that, of guiding you on that path. So if you're brand new or if you're very seasoned, we want you here. If you're new, we want you to ask questions, because those are the best questions. And if you're seasoned, we want to learn from you and work with you.
Yeah, definitely. If you've done this 100 times, please share with us, right? We're here to learn just the same. And because we truly believe that we're all lifelong learners in this journey, right? And the more you can stay learning based, the better.
Cory,
where we are.
Who are you?
Who am I? So my name is Cory King. I am a real estate agent and an investor here in Knoxville. I've been investing in real estate for the better part of the last decade or so. Really started with my first home when I was 22. And from there, started with house hacking, moved in a couple of roommates, let them pay for my mortgage. And then that evolved into flipping lots through kind of the economic downturn, 2010 through 2013. I really got into going to auctions, finding these vacant lots in somewhat established subdivisions that had crashed during the market crash in 2008. And I would just go and buy those lots for cash and then flip and sell them directly to the neighbors for usually a pretty hefty markup, right? $5,000 was kind of my average profit in each of those. And that just led me to eventually moving here to Knoxville, where we've been kind of practicing real estate now for the last 5 years, which has been an amazing journey. And has just led me to a point where, thankfully, last year we were able to sort of, retire my wife out of it, where she can now be at home with the kids, and I can kind of help just chase this passionate journey of mine.
Yes. And Cory, because we were having a conversation for another time, maybe about how once you get there, in some ways it's more stressful. Cory passed the net worth of $1 million, right?
Yep.
And so that's why Cory's up here.
No, thank you, appreciate it.
But just of doing, like, it's a very simple, if you do the simple things, and talk to Cory of like knocking on doors, making phone calls, just like budgeting, right? The basic boring things, like you get results.
Yep.
So
just staying on that path will eventually lead you to where you want to go.
Sure.
Right?
My name's Justin Myers. So I have lots of lessons about what not to do when it comes to, or how to make other people money investing in real estate. I started as a mortgage broker back in 2005 when I was 23. in Tampa and had a front row seat to watch the whole market melt down from the inside. We're the third hardest hit market in the country. And that took me on a journey of working for other people and interesting life choices of starting over multiple times, where I got to work in all kinds of facets of real estate, from auction to property management to commercial to admin stuff, right? Just kind of figuring out and trying a lot of things along the way. Today, I am a real estate agent here. Been working in this market for 13 years. Started as a transaction coordinator here. Taught myself how to do that business. And I am an area director for Casa Knoxville. So it's a real estate team. So my job is to recruit talent and find opportunities for us and bring it back home and let Cory crush them. Why do we run this? We run this because, right, this is a relationship building platform. We want to be in relationship with as many people as possible, right? Whoever gives the most eventually gains the most. We're both crazy motivated by connections, so I'm already winning, getting to be up in here and talk to everybody in the room. And it's to build a platform where, like, borrow the platform. So if you're new here, if you got friends, we've got lots of agent friends and people that would be competition here. They come in here because this is a space, right, we want to see everyone win. And what do we want to accomplish with you? We want to see you go on the journey of, like, the life cycle of investor. Like, how do you come in brand new and not have anything and go on that journey where you go start investing in real estate and building wealth for yourself and, you know, form some relationships. And that's why we're doing this thing. And ultimately, we want to invest with you.
Yep.
We're looking for opportunities ourselves. We are investors. We're in the game actively. Cory's got going 2 right now.
Yeah.
I've got a spec house going right now. And we're looking to build our wealth as well and get financially free. So
that's it. Let's kind of go around the room a little bit, right? Let's take some time. Tell us a bit about yourself. Who are you? What do you do? And then really what we've really enjoyed doing, I think ultimately as connectors that we found is, who do you feel you need to know, right? Who can we connect you with? Some of them might be in the room, so certainly pay attention as we go around introducing ourselves, because the person you might want to meet could be sitting very well right next to you.
Yes. And I'll give you an example of how to do this, because this is definitely one where less is more. And I've practiced this in bigger rooms where if I say one thing, I get responses. If I say I invest in 7 things, people are not coming up and talking to me after the meeting. So my name is Justin Myers. I am a real estate agent and investor. And who I need to know is someone that has buildable lots in Sevier County for cabins, for short-term rentals. I need to know anyone that's got lots. Those are the opportunities I'm looking for. Let's start this way. Let's go backwards.
Yeah, let's go backwards.
No pressure. Awesome. So,
Just tap into some legalese really quick
well,
and get our disclaimers.
real quick,
No,
because Nick couldn't read my mind, which is a shock. I didn't warn him ahead of time. I was going to end with you. Nick is our newest sponsor. He's the head of the founder, him and his wife Megan, of Foundation Mortgage. So we want to thank you for coming out.
Yeah.
And Nick, you want to make the announcement? We are moving to a new location next month.
So as you can see, looking at this room, pretty much got it packed here. So in our office, we have a very open concept. It's a pretty good sized office, about 7,500 square feet. And in the back of the office, this is where we do all our training. We can fit up to about 75 people in that office fairly comfortably, more with standing room. So we're going to now be moving this meetup into our office just because of the size constraints that we have here. So, and we'll just be there for whatever you guys need to support, and we're really, we're all in when it comes to growing this community.
Yes, and so we are on a path to get this community to 2,000 people. That's the goal.
That's the mission.
What do we have right now? In the 3s?
We're, just under 400 people
Yeah.
right now. The mission is 2,000.
Yep. So it's 2,000. Have a larger space, because the bigger the community is, the more deals, more opportunity for all of us. So we're gonna have a ton more space, because last time we were standing in the hallway, so we need to move to a bigger space. So yeah, we're really excited to have you here.
Yeah. Thank you very
I'm
much.
looking forward to outgrowing our space too.
Oh,
Yes.
it's coming.
Right?
Yes.
Absolutely.
And where is your office?
It's off of North Shore. It's it used to be the Talbot's building, but it's Humana
I'm
now.
so glad, because that's right down the street from my house.
Caddy corner from the Kroger, right by North Shore and
Right
Pellissippi.
behind the brasserie, right in that area.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we
Great
will
spot.
remind y'all and send directions and text messages with Google address links. And whoever shows up here accidentally will have a nice door prize because someone's gonna do it. I do it. I'm that guy. We'll come up with something fun. But not that fun. Don't miss the meeting on purpose.
Right. Yeah.
It'll be enjoyable, but not that good. Important legal stuff. So, right, invest at your own risk. Like, you can lose money in real estate investing, and I think it's an important message in the market we're going into. We all came out of a market where you had to really suck not to make money. You're like, oh, I bought it and I paid too much, and like, oh, but the market appreciated 20% and saved me. And so I was able to walk away from this deal, which is why I'm glad we're talking about how to estimate renovations. So vet this, run this by. We're not, the state wants to make it very clear as real estate agents, just generally, we are not tax advisors. We're not attorneys. We're not appraisers, right? So trust but verify. And that goes for who you meet in here as well. I think there's great information, but just run this through some best sources. Get multiple bids. Get advice. Like, ask around. Yeah.
Great way to put it, ultimately. Right?
Which is why we're big on collaboration. The other thing I want to emphasize every single time, if you are brand new, I cannot emphasize enough, my entire career has been based off a partnership. Some people here, independent, and that's fantastic, and talk to them, they've been very successful. Mine has been very much like, hey, I'm going to come mentor under somebody, partner with you, learn the ropes, sharing the profits, make less money, but mitigate my risk of like calamitous failure. Like, let someone else absorb that risk because I'm hedging my downside.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Cory.
So let's hit on a couple points to consider, like, as we kind of get into this, right? Ultimately, you don't have the time to go run around town looking at every single deal. There's just not enough time in the day. So really, we're kind of here to kind of bring some frameworks to all of this. That way you can quickly analyze these projects from kind of a desktop perspective to at least give you a good idea if this is something you do want to go drive across town to go see, right? So for things to be like efficient, you do have to be able to quickly estimate these. And so over the course of projects that I've done, that peers of ours have done, we've been able to kind of put this together for what we consider kind of our typical renovations across a spectrum, right?
You know what jumps at me when you said that is opportunity cost.
Absolutely.
Do you have a good short definition of opportunity cost? I could think of one, right?
Please.
So it's just every choice that I make, I'm choosing not to do everything else. For everyone that chose to be here with us tonight, thank you so much because you're choosing not to be somewhere else tonight. And so I've got to get efficient with my time because I can eat up my time in real estate investing, pursuing a suboptimal path, and I won't know until later that I was on a trajectory that took me here and didn't ultimately reach my goal, right? I didn't get financially free because I wasn't efficient. I didn't have a plan, right? I wasn't getting more efficient as time went by, or I was chasing, deals that I ultimately didn't have the tools to take down. So, how are you, Cory? Like you said, you've got some things, you've got some hacks.
Yep.
Like, what are those hacks? Like, how did you formulate those?
Yeah, so a lot of that came through experience, right? Talking with other peers, right? We try to just be this like lifelong learning base. So just like asking good questions and people that had kind of gone that path before me. Hey, how much does that run you? I mean, oftentimes what I found in this business and in this space is there's a lot of transparency, like ultimately, right? If you just go ask, no matter what level somebody's at, they'll generally take the time to give you some good insight or point you in the right direction, right? Those that don't, screw them. I don't want to work with them anyway, quite honestly.
And on that, you know what? I didn't realize that's something I gloss over because I've had like 20 jobs.
Sure.
I was a roofer in a past life. I worked for one of the larger REO sales teams in the country at one point. They sold 3,000 foreclosures. And so like working with them, like same thing. He taught us the tools we're using here. Is like when you walk through a house, because we represented the bank, but this guy's highly ethical, right? So the bank's not going to disclose anything to minimize their risk. But at the same time, if we're helping you, like, let's point out all the things that could possibly go wrong, because like, why not? Like, the house is going to sell regardless, so it would just be, hey, here's how much carpet's going to cost per square foot. Having like an index of costs, so we could price those things out. Building that out of having just kind of a benchmark for a range. It's the same model we're using now that Cory's built up. So it's borrowing other people's, or sitting down with contractors, so I could have a range. I went to lunch with Kent recently, just wanted to hear his, and like what that is, like so I have a good benchmark of like, hey, what's it gonna cost and also like time. sometimes I got to pay more for quality versus the guy who does it for nothing, but maybe he's not showing up on Tuesday because his truck isn't running.
Yeah, absolutely. And ultimately, even what I've found through my own experience or even talking with like other investors is you're never going to nail it like perfectly. You're never going to hit this, like when you're estimating your repair budgets and any of this kind of thing, you're never going to hit it to the penny. If you do, you're a savant and you've really figured it out, or you've hit the unicorn that really like just happens to like work out, right? You're always going to be a little bit off in some way. Maybe that's, hey, you come in a little bit under and there's a win, awesome, right? Other times you're going to be a little bit heavy either on time, on budget, or sometimes, in my case, on one of my projects, both, right? But generally, like through this and through my experience and through talking with others, I found that you are going to hit a good range. So just understanding that there is like a buffer in this. And ultimately, I guess if you're going to assume something, it's just like, don't go just try to buy something like as is where is without kind of walking through it or kind of making like a sight unseen like approach. The plan for all of this in reality is just so that you can have a good idea. And again, Justin talked about like your opportunity cost on all of this. The idea is that you've got a good framework to be able to make offers that are still revocable after, say, you've done any kind of inspections or due diligence process.
So what are a couple things, and I distract you because I scrolled, but if I want to do some things from my desktop, right? Like what are some ways, and I'm new to this thing, how can I do some research? Like what would you suggest? What are a couple tools you could use?
So certainly the more you know, you can search past listings in the area, aerial photos, Google Street View. Google Street View is a wonderful tool. I learned just like not too long ago that in the like upper left section, if the car has gone by there and scanned the area like a few times, you can actually kind of go back in time. It's pretty cool. It's like a little toggle thing, so you can go back. If this was scanned just say last year, but then you want to go back and it might have been in 2018 or 2012, so on and so forth. Like every time that goes by, that gets saved and you can kind of scroll back in time. It's a pretty neat feature that Street View has that I didn't know existed until just like a couple months ago. That was really neat to see. But like using that, contacting your agent, right, who can help you kind of compile this data and make a good understanding of, hey, am I right on tracking my numbers here? Don't try to go this alone. Right? Make sure that you've got a good team together that can help you analyze these costs.
You can look at tax records.
Yep, tax records will certainly be a good thing.
Those will tell a story. You can look at deeds sometimes. Not as relevant. They used to be very helpful when I was looking at REO history and trying to just figure out the trajectory of this. The other thing you can do, which sounds really commonsensical, people just don't do it. You can just call previous listing agents or sellers.
Yep.
Track them down and ask what's the story with that one. And that'll take a long way and like getting clear on what was actually happening, or like why'd you sell it? Often people are going to tell you, especially if they don't own it anymore. Oh, yeah. That's been really helpful.
Oh, massively so. I have appraisers will call me, after say I've like sold a property because they might be doing a comp around the corner or like nearby, and they want to get some good insight into the nuances of that property that they can't all of a sudden just like walk back through. So don't hesitate to reach out to anybody. Like people will be forthcoming with the information I found, so long as you ask the right questions.
Yep, and depending on your strategy, right, we're going to give you some frameworks to make some offers where you can make that offer. And when we talk about great investor, over 30,000, 14 years, 30,000 members, 28 cities. We find if you follow these frameworks, they're adjusted for a city, you're going to land within 10,000. Mm-hmm. Like you're able to go make that offer over the phone that you're going to go verify in person, right? Hey, I think I could do, I see Jessica nodding, right? It's that same, right? I do my back of the envelope math so I can make an offer to get the appointment, but I've made it close enough where I come out there when it's off, hey, we can both see like the basement is flooded. You didn't mention this wall was falling down, right? I'm going to adjust my offer based off of X.
Yeah,
cool.
This photo happened to be just at the angle where all the craziness is right behind the photographer.
So what are some basic assumptions when we're starting off? So we have like a common language, common framework, right?
Sure. Just again, don't buy a property sight unseen. Ultimately, you're going to need to get some kind of eyes. Someone's eyes.
But Cory, it sounded really great on paper, and the guy told me that the ARV was 300,000, and
Yeah.
I went and looked at a house that someone I'm not going to mention had. The ARV was 100K over. It was totally fire damaged. I don't know where they're getting the comps from, but supposedly it was 360. I couldn't find anything over 200 recently.
That's definitely where real estate can be like hyper local, because I do remember that project, and they're pulling comps from a neighboring neighborhood, but it's not going to apply the same, right? This is all about like location.
I don't even know. It was just crazy because when I say fire damage, I'm talking. It was active fire.
Yeah, it was
like nothing had happened since the fire department had been there. Yeah, I was like, okay. I was not prepared to go walk through like ashes and like. The TV was melted, and it was interesting.
Yeah.
So what's the goal of this? Or what are we doing as a framework?
Yeah, the goal here is really just to prioritize your time and prioritize your leads of where these are going to fall, so that way you can still make these like revocable offers, right? That can be kind of finalized after you've done your inspections, after you've brought your contractors through to really verify. This is again just designed to be your like back of the napkin or back of an envelope kind of math and frameworks of when you're evaluating properties from your desktop.
Sure.
You can be efficient with your time.
And it's a separate class we talk about, but just right, obviously, when we write contracts, we want to write contracts that benefit us. So if I can get them, I want contingencies. I want to have outs. I'm not trying to come in making, if I can avoid it, cash as is offers, unless I'm very comfortable with that, and that's part of my acquisition strategy, right? That's part of my value proposition. But that's a move you make because you're seeking an edge. Because your experience is not how you're just walking in. That is how you end up.
In a tough spot.
Yes.
In a tough spot. So
let's give some frameworks, Cory, and I want you to walk through them there. Of like, we've got some categories. So what's the first category that we're looking at?
So our first category when we're getting into estimating our repairs is just going to be your rental grade. Right. This is where everything is largely in pretty good condition overall, and just needs like a little lipstick, a little light refresh. So that's just fixing anything that's broken in there, paint, carpet, lower cost appliances, like, say white appliances, low cost tile, things you can go grab right off the shelf at any like Lowe's or Home Depot around the corner.
I'm going to Southeastern Salvage, right? I'm going to Knoxville Salvage for that tile. Like, hopefully they have enough for my project and just enough, Habitat Restore. All right, and what's that going to cost? Like as a back of the envelope, what's your number there?
I found it to be like about $18 a square foot, and again, that could range a little bit. 14, the one project I've got going on in Florida, I'm at like just under $15 a foot on that remodel. That could probably be upwards of 20, but that's going to keep you in that range. If you're using like say $18 right now as your metric, it's going to keep you within a decent spread.
Awesome.
Depending on the echelon of the property, because
of course, depending on the condition of the property. If it's again just something that needs a very light, just a deep clean and some light fix ups, that's going to keep us in this range overall. It's just going to depend on how deep down the rabbit hole.
And we're gonna talk about these. Well, what we're gonna do is we'll run through all these, and then I want to hear from y'all what you're seeing if this matches. Once we define, just like if I'm a salesperson, I'm gonna go, let me describe what I'm gonna do, then we're gonna talk price. Once we define our categories, we'll talk about, what do you think that fits in, based off of this. So the next one's a simple rehab. Right? So simple rehab is, I'm coming in, I'm gonna replace the fixtures, new kitchen, bathrooms, paint, flooring. We always recommend switches and plates.
Always.
And fixtures. It's the small details that make sometimes the biggest difference, right? And people will skimp on those. But those are your biggest movers right there. If I hit kitchen, bathroom, paint, flooring, those move. You get the most bang for your buck there, right? So interior paint, entry grade carpet or hardwoods. One thing you can do if you're using like a builder grade carpet, depending on the scale of the property, upgrade your pad. Get a premium pad with a builder grade carpet. It's not going to have the same durability, which is why you pay for a longer
nicer carpet.
But it'll have the feel.
It'll feel great on the feet.
That's something where you can do an entry level if you're doing like a higher price point, just simple rehab. Entry grade granite, right? We're talking the lowest level granite there. For tile, we're sticking to a budget of $4 a square foot in our bath, right? And that gives us a 4K buffer for some sort of an extra, whether I've got an AC unit, I'm doing some roofing. That's going to be $35 a square foot. Again, for our simple rehab category, if I'm looking at it at a glance, walking through, that's what I think it looks. 35 a square foot. What's our next one, Cory?
Next one's going to be like what we call like a basic remodel. So this is kind of everything that we've hit before, plus we're changing out doors, we're maybe adding in new windows, we might be removing or moving a wall or two, combining some spaces. I've got to do some light updates onto my electrical systems, plumbing, and I'm likely going to be replacing a major piece, a roof, a full HVAC, whereas before it was, we're gonna patch the roof, or we're gonna just get this AC charged and refreshed, and we're not replacing the whole thing. Now we're replacing one of those pieces. This is adding a value where we're enhancing everything that's there, but we're really going into some bigger projects at that point.
And yes.
Are you holding these properties or are you flipping these properties?
It depends.
It depends on
Your
kind of what I
strategy.
wanna
Right
do
now,
with
we're
it.
just talking just a generic framework for estimate renovations.
What is the minor plumbing and electric to expand? Is that looking at the box?
Yeah, I'm probably like replacing a panel. I'm replaced a couple runs, or I've got some budget in there to probably replace some plumbing from going with like all new PEX or something along those lines.
PEX?
I do PEX or PVC, like a combination like thereof.
When we're talking minor plumbing, we're not talking about like, hey, I've found out that the line all the way out to the
Yeah, to the
street,
street.
is corrugated. And I'm replacing that entire thing or replumbing the entire house. On electrical, it's maybe it's the panel or it's double tapped, or I've got to come in and maybe do GFCIs or right all the basic wire. There's some wiring issues in the attic. There's always those uncovered boxes. It is not like replacing all the knob and fuse and having the house rewired, right?
Yep.
Would like plumbing stack in the basement that's exposed, cast iron, knocking it down, PVC in it, but we're not taking it all the way.
Correct.
Yeah, and I think
That's my
honestly, like I said,
experience.
let's run through all the categories because I think it'll answer like, hey, does that fall in? And then we're gonna go in and debate this. This is why we're crowdsourcing this. I want to walk out with some different numbers.
Yeah.
The one thing I want to land on this, we're talking about enhancing the existing layout. So let's talk about how do you add value in real estate? You add value by increasing the functionality or adding square footage. Like those are the big movers. Otherwise, what we're doing is we're changing finishes. And you can change finishes, and that can work too. Like, hey, these premium finishes, but in terms of like, you're gonna add more value here by, hey, we've got an older home that's got the formal dining room broken up from the living room. It's not a load-bearing wall. We are taking that out. We're doing an open concept. We're enhancing the usability, or we're bringing it more in line with current trends. Maybe we're framing in a carport, or we're adding an addition, or we're conditioning an unconditioned space. Like those are ways you're going to add square footage, finishing a basement. Like those are some things you're going to talk about enhancing layout, just how are we moving some of those spaces. I think like finishing the basement would not be included in this, but in terms of when I'm thinking about enhancing space, it's just like how am I making the space more usable? And that's where, at this level, sometimes I'm having conversations. I've got designers that I work with that give me advice, or they walk through, or stagers or something that are giving me some outside input if I have trouble visualizing this of like, how can we transform this space? And that's where, obviously there's some agents that make big money doing this where the places, the before and after is unrecognizable because they've enhanced layout. That's a huge skill to develop.
Yeah, that's a big one for sure. The last one, the fourth stage, is going to be your full on. We consider that your major remodel, and this is going to swing. I mean, this is everything before, plus you're replacing pretty much everything at this point. Your roof, your HVAC, decks, major plumbing, electrical. You're going to be adding additional spaces.
That's that finished basement that I was
That's that
mentioning,
finished
right?
basement
That's
you're
a major
getting
remodel.
into. Yeah, and or we are we're jumping into some foundation work now. We're getting into some major framing or like structural pieces to all this. And that's gonna range, I've found it to be starting around like $60, $65 a foot. And that's why I have a plus there, because that can very easily go higher than that, right? Just depending on what you're getting into at that point. But this gives us some good frameworks of, from a basic rental standpoint. This is my numbers based on projects that I've kind of done that I've found into, that you can end up into this, $65 a foot range for your your big lifts. I mean, this is some.
And this, I would say, is more of the renovations that I cut my teeth on working with a partner, was coming in, buying homes in nicer neighborhoods, spending more than 6 figures on these, and taking them to the top of the market, right? Totally renovating and totally enhancing them. We were just working on one, and the owner passed away, unfortunately, but was over in Westmoreland, of a home, like blowing this out, moving walls, blowing out a hallway, creating a sunroom, like just right. I think the budget on that one was $500,000 of just how do you go enhance that space. So let's go back to the beginning here. Now we've laid out those categories. Let's hear, sure. So rental grade, does that track? Who agrees, who disagrees? We've got some experts in the room. Let's see a couple nods.
It depends on how long you're gonna hold your rental. I mean, right now I'm looking at actually reducing square footage, 3 bedrooms down, 3 bedroom, 1 bath.
Sure.
Nice bath, two bedroom, college rental.
Yep.
So that's why,
And that's what we covered in our how to buy and hold class. Yeah, it's a great point.
that's why I asked that question.
Yeah.
Take over the conversation.
No. So what's your strategy that you're going for? Is that you're buying and holding long term?
Well, define long term.
Are you buying and holding for 10 to 15 years?
No,
Okay,
no, 5 or under.
gotcha. So that's short term, yeah. Yep. So you're going to hold it 5 years, and there's different
I
philosophies.
may hold them, but I'm not going to for 5 years. Maybe that's what I'm saying.
Awesome. So as a general rule and that makes sense. There's different rules of thumb. There's some investors. Our buddy Jason McDaniel that runs Knoxville's real estate, great guy. I've been friends with him a long time before he was an investor. His philosophy was like, hey, I'm going to come in and totally renovate this thing and create a really nice place because I'm going to go after a nicer tenant. But I think if we're just let's talk about a basic renovation for most people, a simple rental, right? That would not be a rental grade necessarily, right? It's not going to track with those. So to hit that category, if we're talking white appliances, entry level, does 18 a foot make sense to anybody?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I think you can do a lot. 18,000 for 100,000.
Is
Yep.
that doing the work yourself, or is that?
That's hiring it out.
Yeah.
All of it?
Majority of it, yeah. Because
I don't-
I've done projects. I don't like to. I've done a few where I've definitely been the one
I don't-
swinging the hammer, but
I don't
like
budget.
it.
I don't budget for anything. Corey, how honest can I be about that day on Ashland?
Go for it.
We had one day on Ashland. We had everything done, and Corey's like, I'm going to come over. I'm going to help you with this stuff. It ended with Corey saying, you know what, man?
Good.
Keep all the money in the project.
good.
I don't want to mess with this. And then I got someone else to come in and fix it for $700 because he just got so frustrated and I was going to help, but I ended up doing all the runs to Home Depot and taking phone calls. I was not, because I don't want to do this stuff. I was there. I was mainly Corey just suffering
I've
alone.
learned now.
No,
Like,
I project it all out.
Yeah, I've definitely learned those lessons over time of just I will swing a pen and not a hammer,
But
right?
That's also the difference, though. I've realized is as a real estate agent, it becomes an opportunity cost because
Yes.
I can do one project, or I can go out my value per hour is higher when I'm doing other activities. So it's when I don't have anything to do, sure. And we've cleaned out things and had listings, and we're over there sleeping if I have nothing else to do. But at there's definitely times when I'm like, this is not a good use of my time.
Correct. Like the time we were doing Ashland was not the time I should have been doing that.
Yes.
On one of these projects that we'll kind of go into, that is one of my rental grade flips. We did that. This was right as COVID lockdowns were happening. And nothing was really kind of going on. Nobody really knew what was going on. I'd just gotten into it. My wife was 8 months pregnant, and I just got into this. I was like, I got to get this thing done because I got a baby soon. I got to get some cash. Right. So that was a time where I had a little bit more time on my hands to just go all in on that because we had to get that done.
And I think if you can, you're paying yourself, you just got to price out
Yeah.
what's your cost per hour. By all means, do anything you can do.
Yep.
Except for tile. Only tile people are like, oh yeah, laying tile was really fun. I want to do that again. Can we all agree on that? Everyone that's done it has been like, yeah, I'm not doing tile again. I'll do flooring myself or paint, but I'm not doing tile again. Just pro tip, you can just skip that one.
Yeah. 100%. 100%.
All right.
We get into like a
So
simple
rehab
rehab.
for 35 a foot. What do we think, Jessica? You do.
I've never done anything simple. All mine's been full depth.
All right, we'll
I'm
call-
like, this looks great.
Yeah.
We'll come
Likewise, I'm
back.
always on the either end of the spectrum. For me, it's always super light or super heavy.
Sure. And I don't want to price that out. I have like sometimes I have a matrix in my head of like, hey, how much, like category 2, right? For how much painting's going to cost me, how much flooring's going to cost me. What do you think? I know, Sean, what do you think? Does that track with your numbers?
I guess. I don't ever have a simple rehab.
Got it.
Everything that I have is heavy.
Sure.
If I have to estimate within 5 or 10 or 20%, the deal isn't good enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So I'll leave that for him to where, it's not an issue.
Sure. And this is going to be some of our almost like wholesale. This is some simple stuff. For the realtors in the room, this is definitely the one that comes up the most. This is kind of my framework for when you're talking to or as we go into like novations, right? And you're partnering with people, that's a whole opportunity we could all be going after is going on a novation, writing an agreement with an existing homeowner, coming in, hey, I'm going to pay you when this is done, I'm going to do the work. And I think there's going to be a lot of people where you could do something like this and share in the, because what we find is people don't want to deal with the emotional hassle of doing this. Mm-hmm. They leave money on the table all the time because they don't want to deal with the stress. That's my entire industry is getting paid to solve emotional problems. Which part, like innovation?
You're advising sellers on renovations to.
Yeah, that's a long conversation. Yeah, we've done, you name it, we've done it in terms of like a paid for program, funded them various ways. There's ways to, we'll end up rolling out, I think at some point this year, like a renovate with us, pay later program. That'll just kind of happen organically once we hit some other benchmarks in our sales business. But in terms of like walking sellers through, yeah, 100%. We've project managed them. And you just want to make sure you price that. Like if you do not price that where you're getting paid as a project manager, it becomes a drag. Yeah. It just, I've found out as nice as I think I am, I perform very poorly when I'm not getting paid to do things because it just happens to, it has to fall to like the lowest level of my priority. Like even if I think it's really, I'm like, no, I should be, because I can't help those people. Mm-hmm. We had that conversation. Remember there was a lady we were going to do the reno for?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because it was crazy. We had to like have this come to Jesus talk because there's this poor lady and the only way it would work is like, what if we fund the renovation and like bend over backwards to make no money? And it was just like, we just can't do that. Like it won't happen. Mm-mm. Like, anyways, this is a whole separate. We'll tell the story after the fact.
But there are options out there. I mean, this is definitely a big one to. That's definitely a big one to hit on and understanding. Like for the agents in the room, like if you've got somebody that needs something that can clearly needs to be fixed up, if they're really trying to maximize it, that's a good framework to work around to help them.
And most agents are not comfortable in that space. Mm-hmm. So
where are you finding these contractors to fit this per square footage costs?
Rooms like this.
Because no offense, but guys, gals, when you're trying to fit these numbers, you're finding a contractor that will come to work and not need to make a lot of money is tough. Getting them to show up on time is tough. So you're paying him, he's gonna show up, but he's gonna make money. Mm-hmm. And it's gonna be hard to hit some of these numbers. Mm-hmm. So it sounds fantastic, but what I found in Knoxville is that contractors don't show up because they don't have to. No offense to your crew. Mm-hmm. But these numbers look great.
So what numbers, I'd love it. What?
I don't, I shop location and make it work around location.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I have a certain clientele that I'm trying to look for.
Yep.
While I'm here in Knoxville. So I don't want to put a damper on what you're saying there because it's all great information. Everything here absolutely makes sense every single time, but right now contractors are running the world, and you're getting into it, it's tough, your budgets are tough.
And I think it's a fantastic point.
Payments are tough.
What I would say is, and this is a great point because you're brand new to the meeting and you don't know any school from Adam, we've been here a long time. Like, I've got relationships. That's why ultimately when it comes down to it, it's like, I love all the agents in here. Fantastic. The brand new guy is not going to compete because that's what it's like. How much business have I sent my guy over the years? And we've got guys that have crews and crews for days that can put 70 people on a job. Like, look, I'm doing a spec house with, we'll do 800 roofs this year. So when it comes to labor, I've got a whole pipeline of,
a true army
we
of-
can go
of
do
help.
a couple thousand squares of roofing in a day. So that's,
Good, sorry.
yeah, no. So,
I mean-
but yeah, it's a very big challenge right now is finding people. And there's a great opportunity for, like, having a
I mean,
GC
if
that'll
you-
actually
you
show up and do the
cater
work.
to realtors and you become that person, and they become, part of your source of what, what you like to do in construction, then, you don't have to charge them 35% overhead and profit on every project. You kind of team up with them. And you look at things like your investment term and your purpose of investment, how long you're going to keep it. But then you also look at property desirability and ROI. So some of it's case by case. But I feel like as far as like a budget number, if somebody asked me, hey, what could you build for a square foot right now? I'd say $175 a square foot. Comes off the top of my head. I don't know where it's at. A lot of my stuff's manual calculations, but you're exactly correct. It's finding those relationships.
Sure.
Yeah, that's the biggest one. I mean, that's really what this whole group is about at the end of the day, is developing those relationships, right? Culturing those relationships that eventually it turns into repeat business and both people are helping each other. And oftentimes, you're right, like I can make these numbers work because I've sent this guy job after job after job after job. So then when I do ask of something like it happens. It's really hasn't been.
So what do I do if
challenge.
I'm brand new to town?
New to it.
Great question, right? What I do is I leverage other people's relationships. I hear, well, Jessica's done 7 flips. I bet if Jessica makes the intro for me, that guy psychologically is going to price that closer to like, oh, Jessica's the source of this business,
Yeah, he works with my friends all the time.
right? Because it's awesome. She's keeping me fed because my client, this whole separate conversation, right? My client acquisition cost is a huge source of if I'm running a business, right? Client acquisition cost is a huge source of business. If I get, right? How do I solve that piece? Maybe I'm like,
flock towards you because
maybe I'm like, Zach, gonna come to, but how am I doing? Am I spending money on marketing? Am I spending time? Peter's in here, right? There's lots of vendors in here. You've got a tree service, right, Sean? Like, if I can solve that piece, then I have some flexibility elsewhere. I can be more competitive on price, or I can reward repeat business because I don't have to acquire new clients. That's one way I'd look at it. The other way I've looked at it is we were doing a spec home, went and partnered with a local builder, took him out to lunch, had a conversation, decided to build the exact same plan that he'd already built and had permitted, made arrangements. He pulled permits for us. We built the same floor plan at the same time and shared crews, right? And we had some efficiencies, like we had better crews. And then ended up working out, like we had a gutter machine, did his gutters for free, he didn't charge us like his, management fee. Right? It was a win-win because we got economies of scale because we were ordering the same package. And that's what I'm thinking. How can you partner without partnering? How can I partner without formally, hey, we're sharing resources, we're collaborating in some ways where, I don't have to, we're not married to each other, but I trust us, we can go work together. Hey, do you want to go work? We're both doing the same thing. I'll throw people your way, throw them my way. So we're not pulling them off each other's jobs, competing with each other. That's some effectiveness, and that's why I'm really big on the power of relationships. Like relationships, that is a huge value add to your investing portfolio. Like learning from other people. No, but I love that. Is your challenge price, or your challenge is getting anyone to show up at all?
I've got gray hair and some not, I'm just trying to give some experience
Yeah.
to the people here. It sounds fantastic, but you really want to turn yourself into a general contractor, basically, or a project manager. 6 or 7. All you're talking, you guys have the luxury of scale, right? You can throw whatever number you set in a project, 70 people, blah, 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 blah.
Oh no, those are just relationships. I'm small fry. Yeah.
I feel like I'm putting a damper on the meetings, and I don't want to do that because it's fun and it's allows you
No,
a sense of independence but it's.
I think it's important
it's
though
hard
to know,
work.
like,
I-
I have a false sense of security about it though. It's like, hey, these are the challenges. And I mean, we hear about this stuff all the time. We run into this stuff not getting done on time, it's over budget. You know, we do some renovation loans too. We run into these problems all the time. So it's a real problem.
But what I would love, because you're new to the area, and I mean, I got a bunch of this gray and this beard. It didn't come, it didn't come accidentally. But like Kent, do these numbers make sense to anyone else? Are we being way optimistic right now? Or so what Kent does, and I sat and had with him. He's like an independent consultant and a headhunter. And some of these guys are not the cheapest guys in town. You're paying for quality and reliability, right? But I see Jesse back there as well. Those numbers. Does track with you if we're looking at 1,000 square foot house? You think we could do this for 35? Well, now we're back there.
Yeah.
It's 52 for 35,000.
Makes sense. It also depends on the level of rehab you're gonna do.
Right.
So if you're doing it basically, it could cost about that, and it's also depending on if you open up the walls and you find something you didn't expect.
Well, yes.
Stuff's gonna go up.
Yeah.
I kind of think the takeaway from this discussion that is going on is that if you're getting into this for the first time or maybe your first couple times, that's why it's important to have an experienced mentor who can kind of, one, help you through the process as you're doing it, give you guidance on, hey, I'm not sure if this is going to meet the budget that you have in mind, and also that person can bring some relationships to the table that can maybe help you get within some of the
Is
parameters
there-
that we're talking about in this process.
Anybody in the room that would look at a deal with somebody else in here? That's why I'm in this room. Yeah, and that's the same if you go to Jason and Richard's meetup. It's the same exact.
thing.
You can go if anyone wants it. Jason McDaniel will WhatsApp you from Mexico. We've already had the conversation last time. I was like, walk me through the script for owner finance. Now he's in Poland. Walks for owner financing. Jesse actually came in late. He just congratulations, just bought another property.
Closed yesterday.
Yes.
Love it.
Yeah. With a couple other guys that come here, Mustache Men, Luke Rivers and Jeremiah. So,
That's awesome.
And then let's get into the ones where we've got some.
Christine had a question.
Yeah,
I believe
go.
you're hanging.
Yeah, so I just want to jump in. I think there's an economy of scale as well when you talk about the size of the renovation. So when you talk about doing this for a 1,000 square foot home or a 2,000 square foot home, it's going to be a very different per square foot number than if you're only renovating one bathroom or part of your kitchen.
Sure.
So I think you might see these numbers double as the size is getting smaller. So that's something that we've experienced on the light remodel as well. When you go in and you can offer a large job, you're going to have an easier time getting them to show up than for a job that's only a few thousand.
And if you need vendors, feel free to call us.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, yeah.
Something change the process for contractor is if there is easy access to the project. If I have to run all around the house to get in a basement, makes me more time and lose material, broke things. And then like we wanna go do a roof, we do a roof like for $12,000. Another roof is smaller than we do 13,000 because it's not easy access to that.
Sure.
Sure.
Well, the pitch is different,
Yeah,
right?
that's one of the things. And the other, when we go, as the lady said, when the project is small, I need to set up my things as a big project. Doesn't matter how big it is. Like same tools, same workers, some things I put there. If the project is big, so it costs less for the homeowner. And the others that they trust, when they call me to go to see a project, they talk the way I don't feel secure to go work for them. Or on the way I said, maybe they pay me, maybe it's not, maybe they talk like a fishy love. So then I said, first I say, sorry, I can't do it. If I like it out, I go halfway, I say, up to here, I can't do it. It happened to me like you are
I remember.
court for like a $25,000 and they don't pay payment.
So you're saying it's how you approach the vendors in terms of credibility? Is that the point you're making at the end? Just like, hey, like the more credible you are, the better service or pricing you'll get from the vendors as well?
Yeah, the vendor,
Okay.
when they talk secure, like they give you support to do this job for them. They're willing you to do whatever your idea, tell you, but they talk like on their way, their different way. They want to give you the money and they give you a right direction what to do. As a contractor, I'm doing for a long time this job. I know he went takes me to some houses. He said, stop telling me very bad.
Yeah.
No, but I could see everything, but
Yeah.
they like when some hidden problem coming out when you're doing remodeling or renovation, you never know. You need to put 10% of 15% of your budget aside, like a molding, like a water damage. You never know what's going on there. But sometimes we go to work, we pick up this problem and they say they don't want to pay for that.
Yes. So
So I
here's
leave the job. Like if I lose $2,000, but I leave the job. It's all right.
so here's what I'll do, and I love this, but right. So the whole point of grid is we're gonna give you basic frameworks. And if you have basic frameworks, you're gonna be able to quickly develop some heuristics where you can start making decisions and evaluating things and chunking these into categories, right? So the first one would just be like, hey, here's a framework. Does it fit in these 4 categories? Hey, here's a range of what that should be as a price point. We're gonna get into some specifics of 3 different deals that we've renovated, pull back, answer any specific questions. We can talk about those as well, right? But keep in mind, although everything is individual and different, there are commonalities over time. And when you look at those commonalities, those will guide you. If you're doing something wildly outside of those, over time, the law of averages will get you. You're not gonna win in every deal. Right? You're not gonna you're gonna have mistakes here. So we've got a category, we've gone through here. Now we're looking at a basic remodel. This is, we have an extensive remodel. That 52,000 square foot. So that tracks well. We did one for 742.
Yeah, the Ashland one fits just
kind of,
around this.
but we went I could put an $11,000 kitchen in there.
Yeah.
We spent more money than we needed to on the ROI, but we had a long-term strategy of
We made a really nice house.
we want to sell sick houses. We just do, and I don't care to spend $10K more and make the same amount of money to finish it the way I want to have a house I'm proud of.
Yeah.
I'm a poor investor in that way, but I'm also I get to market stuff that I'm proud of, and it moves all the comps in the area. I've got and I get to present it well. So there's a kind of a method to the madness. Also, I probably just spending money, right, Cory?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, and it's just a sick house. It's a sick house.
Nice.
I'd live in there. I like selling houses that I would live in.
That one particularly came in kind of right between.
But we spent $54,000.
Yeah, that one came in right between this basic and kind of that simple remodel. That was definitely one where we probably spent in some areas we didn't quite need to, but there was some other stuff like that kitchen and bathroom stuff was pretty sick as well.
Yeah.
We do like big, nice houses. I'll say that for sure.
What was on that house?
One on Ashland?
The one on Ashland, bought that for 90. I think we
bought it for 90. We bought it for 92. We put 54 into it.
Maybe
it was 52.
I don't even know if it was that. I feel like it was less than.
No, I know that. I've looked at the numbers recently.
Somewhere.
Yeah, and because we sold it for 185. I can get into specifics on lots of this stuff. There's stuff that moved it. I have it all. I can show you. I have it all broken down in a spreadsheet.
How did you find the deal?
My friend called me and asked me to find someone to buy her house. And then she's someone I had a long-term relationship with, and she said, will you come? I want to go to Myrtle Beach. Angie's on Myrtle Beach now. She's living her best life. And she said, will you buy this house and find someone to fix it up, and I hope you make a lot of money. And then we made $30K on the rehab, and she sent me a message at Christmas thanking me because she's on the beach.
Myrtle Beach.
Which we talked about how to find motivated sellers. Right? If you solve problems for people, they will be happy.
Yep.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then this major remodel here. Yes, Tristan.
Question that kind of goes in other things that were said. To you all and to any other house flippers, is there maybe a certain structural equation that y'all can use based on the year of the house, or a certain layout of the house of, 1960 asbestos stopped being used, or copper piping that you know you're gonna have to break down into? Is there more?
A simple formula?
You might be jumping into the basic versus the simple.
Not that I found it's a quite simple breakdown. These kind of 4 frameworks really kind of help me there. And then it starts to get into just your time and experience of looking at them and understanding yes, I'm going to find galvanized plumbing in this 50s to 70s home. And so if I do find that, I might as well just budget for that to be replaced. And that's where these numbers can be a little fluid to a degree, because hey, the rest of the home might just need essentially a very surface level remodel, just like a facelift. We're just going to sand the floors, we're going to paint this, change some fixtures, and I got to change the plumbing out, or I got to change the panels. So that's where this is going to kind of be a little fluid.
So is your question kind of saying, hey, like I've got like a 1960s basement rancher, it should be X?
Kind of, or I'm definitely going to have to put out a little bit extra more than the 52 model versus if it was built in 1980, maybe it would be $47 per square foot. The older you get, the more you might have to put in.
I don't know. I think for me, I look more like the trades because it's just what am I going to have to do? Like around here, especially, I don't think there's any sort of universality, right? You look like an 85-year-old home and it's built with like hardwood timbers, and you're like, this thing is fully decked and it's more stable than the place that was built in the, right? You're like, and the quality of the construction really varies wildly. I don't know about y'all, but have you ever seen code enforcement or OSHA on a job? I haven't. I've seen some wild, and the quality of this from like experienced contractors doing stuff like blows my mind. Like people that have 15 years of experience and the stuff they do makes no sense. Right?
It's going to vary by your person, by your property.
Our house over on Woodbine in Park Ridge, literally they concreted in the piping on the second floor. Like we had to take little jackhammers. Like I didn't touch it. Somebody took it.
So, but yeah, it's a great question. I get where you're going from. Probably more like there's some common problems. So we can talk about it after the fact. If you want to pull aside, like, yeah, hey, we never really had it here, but like in the 90s there was Chinese drywall, and in this phase you might want to look out for galvanized plumbing, or here's like, when you go look at the breaker, you can see is it a federated breaker? That's a fire hazard, right, guys? Is there anything else I'm missing? Obviously, there's
371 lead-based paint.
Yeah, for sure, right? And what does that look like when we're going and looking at it? Is that asbestos siding? But does it matter if I don't touch it, right? Peter, we were talking about that, right? Like,
any of it are expensive, plumbing and electrical.
sure,
Right.
Yeah. No, that's a great question in terms of. And coming to stuff like Field Trip Friday. So Cory puts on, if anyone wants to, a thing called Field Trip Friday that's open to anybody, where we go out to different neighborhoods. Cory gives you your background on there, and then we go walk through the houses. Peter came with us. So we were out in some historic neighborhoods, just walking through some different houses, identifying,
These are things to look for. I mean, things like just like that. Yeah, we've been through neighborhoods like West Hills where you're going to find a lot of that, like galvanized plumbing or Federal Pacific electric panels. So in that, it's where we bring along like a home inspector. Like, here's the extra set of trained eyes so that you kind of know what to look for when you're out in the field.
That's geared towards our agent community, and like anyone can tag along. Just ignore the like, hey, we're teaching the new guys how to open lock boxes, like, and but come get the knowledge. Yeah, Peter.
Well, the other side of that, to speak to what you were saying about different contractors, different quality. I mean, I did an inspection on 2 homes, same neighborhood, like 2 roads apart, completely remodeled, and you could just see the difference in who did the remodel, whether they had passion for it to do it right, or whether they were just putting a Band-Aid on things to get it off their chest. So, it's very important to know, to be able to see the difference in what they're doing.
Anybody sell new construction or have bought new construction, right? If you go through, so I've sold new construction. We're both on a team. Our partner was a builder. Like back in the day when it was like 100 a foot versus 120 a foot, that's before the drywall. Like you can't see the difference. That's the difference in the decking. It's the difference in the framing. It's the difference, right, in some of those you can't see on the finishes. So like going in a D.R. Horton home, we can go in and put all new flooring and all. It's still a D.R. Horton home, like, right? It's still got not a great skeleton to hang this thing on. There's just differences in levels of construction, right? Those are some great points. I think these are, and then this last one, 65, this has been one that tracks with our numbers. Is it cool if we jump into some specifics? Anybody, any more questions? We're good? Let's run through a couple of deals that we've
let's hit
renovated.
Projects. So this one actually in particular, this is my house, right? This is my primary residence. This is one that I bought for $185,000. I've put 107 into it. It appraised for $415 after I was done. I ended up doing kind of a cash out refi on this, essentially bird my own house, right? That's usually like the buy, renovate, rent, refinance, repeat. I just didn't rent this. I just live there, right?
Reside.
Correct.
That
I
was
reside
the-
there. Ooh, I like that. Perfect. So this is one that really, for me, tracked right about that. I mean, that number's probably actually getting closer to 100.
How'd you find this one, Cory?
That one I found actually interesting enough through like an open house. I was hosting an open house, had the sellers that came through that open house, had a good rapport. They stayed in contact. They knew I kind of did some remodels, and they eventually moved to Lenore City. And he called me randomly on like a Tuesday night of like, hey, so we bought a house in Lenore City, and we need to sell our house. And so I asked him like, what do you want for it and everything. And when he told me like the number, I was like, excellent. I'll see you tomorrow at noon because I'm interested in this. So I went over there and like struck a deal. I mean, it was like kind of essentially an as-is purchase. I still had my due diligence period there. I did walk through this whole property, had my eyes on it, but I did have a full home inspection on it, the whole thing, before deciding to go ahead and actually buy it. But that's kind of how I
And what category would this be, Cory?
This is definitely a major remodel, right? This one is definitely upwards. My home is about 2,000 square feet. I know that says like 107. At this point now, between like landscaping, like things like that, I'm probably closer to about 120K into that home, which pretty much hits me right at about that $60 a foot. But everything in the home is new except for that brick facade on the front and probably the brick fireplace inside. We took everything to the studs and brought it back.
And that includes...
So I bought that in April, and we moved in September of 2021. So
right in the heat of...
Right in the heat of
and the
everything.
most fun part.
The craziest market.
So a small precipitate was market, but you really moved pretty quick on this.
I did, and we moved in when that home was
true.
like
half.
Yeah, 85% complete. Like the bathroom, this our primary bath, that was still a shell. That was still like just like I didn't even hung drywall in there when we like moved in. But I had tenants ready to go to our last primary residence, so it was like, babe, we got a boogie, and we
got to
moved
extend
in.
on that one. I remember that.
We did,
Yeah.
we did. So I drug that out. In fact, I made those tenants actually had to wait like an extra month. I planned on being in there in like August. It was like September by the time we moved in, and so they waited an extra month because they got a good deal on the rental. But we moved out and just moved into that, and then finished that last 10-15% while we were there, right? So that project realistically probably would have taken me 6 months or so, but we got it at least there in about 5, which was still boogieing, right?
Yep.
It was still moving pretty quick.
And that included, because even with leverage, right, included cost overruns. That was in the middle of 2021.
Yep.
So lumber was...
Oh yeah, lumber was nuts. Like I originally wanted to have like a deck that spanned the whole back of the house, covered, and before all that it was like, 10, 15 grand kind of like range. And then quotes started coming back of like closer to like 30. I was like, ooh, all right, we're just gonna do the 12 by 12 deck out back with the cover on it. Maybe I'll extend it like later on. So I had to trim back some things I wanted to do there later on.
You nailed it in that timeline despite though.
Huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like you nailed it in that timeline despite.
Yeah, we did pretty good.
Location, I love location.
Yeah, location's great.
It's right over
were in a good
off
spot.
of
It was
Ebenezer by Bluegrass.
That was just one of those ones that that was one of those ones like when the guy called me and I knew where it was, so it was just like, oh, done. I'll see you tomorrow at noon. Brought the wife through. Her eyes were like saucers walking through it because it was in some heavy disrepair. They'd been there for like 30 years and beat the shit out of that house. It was the ugliest house on the block by far. And now all the neighbors are stoked because we got a nice house.
So let's walk through.
Let's start with this one. These are some active projects. I've got this one going right now, actually.
And I'll set the stage because it came from my sphere, right?
Sure.
So one of my buddies bought this place, does all the work himself.
Mm-hmm.
Very handy. Zach is like a rigger down in Atlanta. He works in the film and television production, like on sets and crews. Right, so he's like remodeled his van, van life. He came down here. He's done this before. Like he wanted to buy something that was going to be like in an historic neighborhood and fix this up. This is over off of like Arthur Hanna and that University Heights area.
It's old Mechanicsville, like historic Mechanicsville.
Yes,
neighborhood.
so right like where Lotus Light is and Emerald Youth Academy. in the pocket there. If you go on Diedrich, there's all these historic homes. There's actually some really disrepaired stuff. I think it's a great opportunity. Like, I like that area. I like that block. I spent a lot of time over there. My buddy lived there, and then when he moved out, he's renting to our other buddy. Like, we really enjoyed it over there. And so he came asking me to go list this thing. And then during the project, right, he got motivated. He found something else to buy, and then it became, hey, will you just go get us our bottom dollar, right? I had asked Cory there to like, hey, will you come in and help me market this thing? Cory just made him a direct offer, right? We had it listed for
like around 200. It was
Yeah.
like 200, 210, something like that.
Yep.
Was what it was on the market for.
Giving room for people to talk us down on repairs, and Cory just came in and made him a direct, quick offer. Worked out some terms.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ultimately,
for
that's kind of what led
175.
this on. Bought it for 175. I'll kind of walk
Did
through.
you how'd you finance that one?
How do I finance that one? Private money.
Yes.
Actually, so that's a hard money or private money loan that I used to get into this and kind of start the rehab. And this is one that I would say like I did not nail it on my budget. Right, so that's where this does not always like line up perfectly. My original numbers on this was like trying to buy it for 175. Original pictures, right? Doesn't look too bad. You think like you got some decent like LVP flooring in the kitchen. You got this upstairs room above that kitchen, which could be kind of cool. It's a little rougher. One of the bedrooms looks pretty good. Great hardwood floors, paint, etc. And then that's one of the bathrooms in the home there. There's a giant hole underneath that carpet that you don't see. That's why the pictures don't show everything, because there's no flooring under there. It's just a hole that basically just goes to plywood and then dirt below that.
You don't have pictures. So the hallway, this is an old Victorian home. The hallway had acoustic drop ceiling.
Yeah, there's
you've got like really those barely like 6-inch closets, right? But it had the existing fireplaces. Around the back corner, there's another like could be a potential 80.
Yeah, there was an
apartment with a separate entrance.
One that has a separate entrance that gives me some flexibility. Part of why I really bought this thing was because it gives me like multiple options and multiple exits on this. Right, I can flip it. I intend to have it as like a longer term rent or a midterm rental. Technically, right? My plans for this is to furnish it and rent it out for travel nurses. I'm also looking at sober living. I have applied with some of the insurance relocation pieces as well. So for folks that need housing after they've suffered major loss, fire, flooding, etc., that need somewhere to go, this one can serve as that because now it's a like 4-bedroom, 2-bath home, 2-car garage, fenced-in yard. Can service really well to a lot of different niches. So when I buy this and when I'm running my deals and really looking to buy something, I want to have like multiple exits. I don't want to just like, oh, I only have to flip this and sell this. That's the only way I get it. I got to be able to like rent it. I got to be able to flip it. I want to be able to rent it a multitude of different ways. That's what's going to lead me down to actually like pulling the trigger on a deal.
Until the right opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's one of those ones like I love this neighborhood, particularly like it was Justin. So this is an area that I really like that, as Arthur and Diedrich run somewhat parallel to each other, it forms this really cool historic pocket called Historic Mechanicsville. And there's all these homes in there that will all rival anything you will find in 4th and Gill, in Park Ridge.
Yeah, there's some really cool historical elements. There's one on Diedrich that's been restored does anyone know the history of Park Ridge? What's unique about Park Ridge is these UT professors moved in there, which were good, also kind of a pain. There's one in particular I'm thinking of because I lived in Park Ridge. That was but they really drove that designation of it as they were the impetus of driving that to get it designated as an historical area, because of the William Barber houses in there and did the research, right? And that became the actual pocket of Park Ridge is fairly small, even though now it's marketed as all the way out to
Cherry Street, basically.
Yeah, Park City. But that's what drove it in terms of adding the value. Also, I just love this one because I'm not the only one that gets emotionally attached to houses and starts spending money.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
100%.
This is good.
So this is kind of where I'm currently at. I'm still not done, right, by the way. So this is kind of where I'm currently at in this. So the bedrooms really didn't need too much. We did a pretty good job in redoing that upstairs room. It's probably one of my favorite spots in the house because it's just this super cozy little place that you can kind of go up the small stairway above the kitchen. It's a perfect spot. Throw some beanbag chairs up there. Nice book, just kind of a getaway spot.
2 sets of double-sided fireplaces.
Yes.
Old
so
Knoxville.
Yeah.
I lived in one on Watauga. It was gigantic.
Yeah.
And they've got a lot of, they've got a lot of opportunity because of their size.
Yeah, this is about like 1,600 square feet.
What was your, so Cory, on this, what was the initial budget when you looked at this one?
Initial budget total between like purchase and rehab was about 210, 215. I thought I was going to be like in and out of this thing for about 40 grand, maybe 50 grand total. So I was using private money and borrowed it for like the purchase and like the rehab. So total amount I borrowed was, I think like right there about like 220. And then I've got about like 50 grand of my own cash that I put down to borrow that, which served as my construction draw. But then as soon as I hit that mark, it's all out of my pocket. So everything like over that has been out of my pocket to this point.
Who said something about opening up walls? Like until you start opening up walls and then things start to change.
Yep.
Yeah. So let's see. So let's talk about this.
Here's where things went sideways for me, right? And this is why I think this is important to like look at this, because we can like high five on deals that you smoke all day long. I felt it was important to bring this one to the table because I want it to be real and understanding like it's not always a home run, and just to give like some perspective, right? And I do believe that we all learn. We can learn and high five from like some successes, but where we can really learn is when we see like, ooh, there's some other challenges, and what did you do to overcome that so that you learn not to do that again, right? In this project, this is my first historic remodel, first off, and there was definitely some things that like I knew existed. In this case, it was termites, right? That really kind of got me on this. Like I knew that there was some joists, right, underneath like the floor that was gonna have to be replaced. I'd counted about 2 of them that I knew needed to go. Well, we started getting those. We started opening up the walls into the kitchen and into the bathrooms, and you realize like, oh, all of these 2x4s are all basically like powder when you touch them, right? This floor is got a little bounce to it. And thankfully, somebody in the past history of this home had dug essentially like a root cellar underneath that kitchen that gave me at least like some access to go under there to see it, because the rest of the crawl space is 12 inches, right? So it was like as we start fixing those 2, we have to pull up like a section of the hallway to do that. We realized like, oh, there's more that has to go. Suddenly those 2 joists turned into about 10. And then in the midst of that, you realize like, oh, one of the main girders that runs like the full length of the house, that's pretty toast as well. So as we start kind of unpacking all that, we realized like, oh, there's a lot more to this. So then that resulted in like 7 or 8 new like 30 by 30 by 18 inch like concrete piers that have to go underneath this, and all new framing throughout. So it's about 30 grand, right? That like hit that it is what it is. It's got to get done. We opened up that second bathroom and we pulled up the floor. I should have added the picture there. I'll share it when I send the email out, like in a week after this recording. But like we opened up that second bathroom, and this home's tax record's $18.99. And really what that is they don't totally know. Unless it's on like a historic registry, that's about as far back as it goes. So I know this home was built pre-indoor plumbing because originally there was no bathrooms in this home. I can see where the home originally ended. So we pull up the second bathroom, and I found the original outhouse.
Second bathroom, like the little closet?
Second bathroom, no, not the small, like I call tiny bathroom, the one in the hallway on the addition.
Got it.
That was done. So that was where I found the original outhouse pit that had a little bit of like a brick lining, but it was essentially an 8-foot deep pit, about 15 or so odd feet from the original back door, about where you would expect the outhouse to be. Funny, right? Had to fill that thing right back in because city comes out and inspects all this, and they're like, yeah, you got to fill that in. You can't just leave some like 8-foot hole like under the house kind of thing and expect that to fly. So had to fill that one back in. It led me to, an extra 30 grand like on top of it. And then there's some miscellaneous, but this home's definitely been the big remodel. This is all new electrical. This is all new plumbing. This is heavy duty reframing and foundation work that I couldn't otherwise see, right? Even like on the home inspection, all I had access to is that dug out, essentially like root cellar underneath the kitchen. So all you can see is just from what's right there as you get to the edge of it and like flashlight and try to see into dirt.
Cory, why didn't you just cover it up and just slap some
just slap some paint on it and call it square? Because it's not the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Because it's not the right thing to do. I like making nice homes.
I want to emphasize something that I think doesn't get talked about enough, especially in the investing space, is like being ethical is an investment strategy. We are in a small town, and the stuff that I see in this town, as somebody who just moved here in 2000, where I'm like, I don't know if people think they can get away with this. This is a small, I sold someone a home, we found out there was fire damage, water, like during Christmas when it, water, like the upstairs water burst, like the upstairs laundry room that came off like and so then it uncovered, like the ceiling dropped and uncovered all of this fire damage that they clearly covered up. We're talking new drywall screwed into charred beams, insulation up to charred beams. I mean, massive, massive fire, and we know exactly who did it. And it blows my mind that people would think they can get away with it. Also, to go back to this one last thing that I think is really important, Cory got saved on this because he bought it right.
Yeah.
I think Sean was saying that earlier. Like if it comes down to 10 for me, I'm not doing it. Right? Like Cory bought this so well. It's like, okay, worst case scenario, we had some heart to hearts because a lot's going on. You've got a lot of money on the street, multiple projects going on, and you achieved this because you're a conservative guy.
Yep.
And you get uncomfortable. Like your financial barometer is healthy.
Healthy enough.
So you get uncomfortable, like when the fire is like way over there. You're like, this is making me nervous. Like we should, do something. But it was still like worst case scenario. Man, I got to sell this thing and walk away from this place I love, and I'll only make $30,000.
Right.
That's a great position to be in. Like I totally blew my budget, and I'm still going to walk away with a profit from my time.
Yeah, I'm still in the positive with it. And even for this one where I know I intend to burr it, right? That's that refinance like piece of it all. I know I'm not going to get all of my cash back out when I want to go do that. And I think it's important to understand, like, if you're trying to like burr in this market right now, the likelihood of you getting like all of your money back out, which is how it's originally like kind of designed or the perfect strategy is, you're probably not gonna. You're probably gonna leave some cash in the deal. And I'm okay with that. I did that same with my like personal house, right? It would appraise for $415. I refied at $250, even after putting essentially over like $100K into it, because I wanted my payment to be at a certain range. Thus that if I turn my home into a rental in the future, it's going to cash flow insane, because I wanted my payment to be in there. So even in this case, as I go to refinance it, I'm not trying to pull all of my cash out on it. I expected going into this, I'm gonna have to leave some money in this project even when I go refinance it, and I'm okay with that. I've kind of made peace with that as just my investment strategy, right? I'll be into it for essentially a remodeled house, and I'll leave $30K like into it at that point. It'll be essentially like putting 10% down on it. I'll leave 10% in the deal.
Yeah, and the game is, this is what we host seminars like this. We talk about how to Estimate Renovations. We talked about like how to flip, right? How you make money in real estate is you buy assets and you hold them. You buy them right and you hold them, and then maybe I convert that asset into cash flow, right? That's a great strategy. It's not sexy. So we talk about all these other topics, and then eventually it comes into like, hey, how am I getting long-term assets? Because that's where the magic happens. We'll talk about elsewhere in terms of the tax incentives, right? The creative wealth building strategies. Those all come off of held real estate. This is great. I love this. If you're thinking about flipping, just keep in mind that's earned income. That's taxed as earned income. And sometimes the delta is so good, you're going to do it anyways, or you're doing this to build capital. We're representing a guy that's got 12, he bought them, and we're going to do some flips, and we're doing some immediate ones, then we're doing some more intensive flips to maximize that. But that's because he's building, it's like, I need to make a capital play for another opportunity, right?
Yeah.
Because this is not, for my flippers in here, would you all agree, it's not easy mode doing flips?
No.
Do you see yourself, you're going to continue doing them, or do you see yourself diversifying as now that you're into your seventh?
I really enjoy doing them.
Yep.
It's challenging, and I like a good challenge.
Sure.
Yeah.
Problem solving. But I do think that I want to start doing some like rooming houses and stuff like that for college students and stuff.
Sure.
So that we can hold them and have like higher cash flow.
Yep.
Because it sounds like, are you in the place right now where this is like, hey, step one is this is replace my other income. So now I flip and that's my job, but it's not generating passive income. So I've got to do some other ventures to start generating the passive income.
Right. Yeah. And I'm also going to start doing acquisitions for a wholesale company. Like
Awesome.
large ones.
Cool.
So I'm going to use that money to fund those instead of just flipping all the time.
I love it. And Jesse, the stuff that you're buying, are those long-term holds? Because Jesse is a,
No, right now I'm
grabbing the holes.
just flipping, get initial capital, and then eventually I want
So you're on that same journey. You started as a wholesaler, and now you've partnered, and now I'm flipping because there's bigger returns to get on that journey of going into long-term, like buy and holds. Yeah.
Yep. We'll hit a couple more of these. So this is a condo that I'm actively flipping right now. This goes on the market this weekend. So this is a property I bought. This is actually down in Florida where I used to live. This is a good example of that rental redo. So here's kind of some before photos, really just cluttered. If you can see past the clutter, it's actually not in bad shape. You got tile, there's really like minimal work to be done here in general. It's a lot of paint, it's a lot of cleaning, probably replacing like some vanities, things like that, etc. Right? Replacing the carpet. The carpet was nasty in there. And in that, we just went back through, I replaced like the cabinets in the kitchen, new laminate top. The appliances were there. They were already in good shape. They just needed to be cleaned, right? The bathroom, it's the same tile, same as like downstairs. I just like updated the carpet in this one. I originally wanted to do this for like 10 grand, and I would have done it if it wasn't for those meddling kids. The plumbing in this one, right? This is a building built in like the 60s.
I forgot about this.
That, has cast iron plumbing. And then when we started to like mess around with the shower, and I really just wanted to like reglaze the tile and just kind of really get by getting a little cheap. Well, we sprung a leak. And then that leak went down into the ceiling of the downstairs, and that added to some extra, like we had to rip out the whole shower, like all that tile, and go back in with like an insert and just still change out like the hardware, but that has added extra time and some cost because now I'm replacing like the whole shower, and I had to do some added drywall work, so that took my budget to about 12.8 is like where I'm finishing out on this. Still not bad. I was hoping for 10 grand, being this for about like 13 total. And
Michelle, was it you that asked about doing the work yourself?
Yes.
Yeah, and here's the great thing. So even separately from this, there was a day when Cory and I were talking, and like he had hired a crew out there.
Yep.
They were good on price, not so great on communication. Despite explicit instructions, because there was no one to handhold, they didn't communicate effectively with the HOA. There was a main shutoff for the building, and it got turned back on while they were working, so they flooded the downstairs neighbor and had to go fix all that, and just so.
It's not always perfect, even when
even when it doesn't cost money. That's like all of this time and stress when you're trying to do.
Yeah, trying to do other things. I got the HOA guy
I know,
calling, screaming at me because they turned the water off, and it's a thing. Kind of another rental upgrade I did. This was actually the first one I did. This is that one I was talking about, that like right when lockdown was happening in COVID. Me and my buddy bought this one.
I remember this one.
Yeah, this was a client of mine, actually, older guy, had been there for like ever. This thing was in pretty rough shape, man. That carpet and stuff there's carpet in the bathrooms. It was just, as gross as you can imagine it being, kind of thing, right?
And you did this as a partnership?
We did this as a partnership. This is one where like I had the deal, I had the rehab money, but I did not have the cash to buy it. So I brought in one of my buddies who's a GC, and he and I partnered on this where he brought the cash to buy it, and then he and I spent that, 3 weeks or so it took us to like flip this thing over. And this was all very light rehab stuff. New flooring, new paint, new fixtures. Here's an example. You got that like glue down linoleum flooring that had carpet over the top of that. Just like this bathroom's nasty. Wallpaper, etc. But we went back in, ripped all that out, put down, that's just peel and stick tile on the floors. Not bad. And then it comes with like a little grout. You kind of finish it out. New vanity, new toilet, reglaze the tub, new
Did you put
new hardware on it.
Bathroom fixtures?
Yeah, just like
Yeah.
the new hardware on like the tub, but like the insert itself, we just like reglazed. That was Jesse with Resurfacing Solutions here in Knoxville. Solid. Like, great vendor
where's the vanity
overall.
from?
Vanity's from Lowe's.
How much was it to reglaze the top? About $450?
Probably about like $500, something like that. Yeah, in that range.
We don't get devoted home group prices.
Yeah, we don't get those specialty prices yet. I did get a little bit of a deal because it had like a tile backsplash. I apologize for the potato quality of the first photo, but that kind of gives you an essence of like before. We just came through, repainted the cabinets, kept the same countertop, in fact. New fixtures, paint, new hardware, and then the island.
You found that island.
The island, came out of a client's garage. She bought a condo, didn't want it. I was like, that's cool. That's got like a nice maple top. I'll take that. took it, cleaned it all up. It made for a great like centerpiece in that kitchen. So those ways that we were able to get like kind of
New
creative with some
appliances.
stuff. Yeah, new
right?
appliances.
Where'd you get the appliances?
Lowe's.
Yep.
All of everything in this thing is from
Basic
Lowe's.
package.
Yeah.
Painted everything. Did you use the same fixtures?
We changed out like the lighting and fans and things like around the place. Very simple one. This is a fun one. This is our own Jessica Vine.
Jessica,
and her
you want to walk
project.
us through this one?
Walk us through this one a little bit.
Yeah, so this was our first one. My husband found it on Zillow on July 4th.
How many square feet and how many bedrooms and baths?
So it was 1,044 square feet, and it was a 3-2, and that third bedroom was literally like 70 square feet. So it was like I was like, let's go measure that dang thing. So there it is, so pretty.
Right.
Yeah, I'm just having trauma.
Looking back at that one, right?
So yeah, and then that's what we did to it. Everything, everything is new cabinets, new flooring, new drywall, everything in that place is new. We took it all the way down to the studs.
So to go back here, we're talking square. So you've got 96,000 was the repair cost. What was the initial budget? Were you
86.
86?
Yep.
Awesome.
That's with foundation issues too.
Sure.
Like no, don't.
Did you? And then when you were estimating that, at this point, you're walking with a contractor. Are you doing it yourself? Like how are you doing your estimates?
Okay, so keep in mind we literally had been doing real estate for 2 weeks.
Yep.
We did this. So my husband was like, "Don't buy this thing, please. It looks scary." And I was like, doing it. So we got a referral from an agent that we didn't know, and it ended up being like a kind of scammer contractor. And so he just gave us like randomly weird numbers, and thankfully just happened to turn out the right way. Was not at all like they had like demo down for like $15,000. Zach's like, yeah, let's do that. So like none of the numbers were right. So.
But they all balance somehow.
Yes, like
I love it.
Like granite countertops were like $1,500, and I was like, no, they're not. But the demo wasn't 15,000, so that helped a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what he wanted first. That's why he did that.
Sure.
So yeah, he's like, yeah, the demo's $15,000. I was like, I'll demo it myself.
No doubt.
I'll figure something out. But yeah, so that's what happened there.
Okay.
But yeah, the foundation, we got it quoted from someone else that was not that guy, so it was only $2,000 over that quote. But yeah, everything else, thankfully, did not. Yeah. Yeah, so that was like all block on the front there, and it doesn't look as bad as it did in person. So everybody's like, "Oh, it's so cute." I was like, "You didn't see it in person; it looked terrible."
Yeah.
So yeah, all new gutters, all new siding. The roof was only a year old, so that was the only thing that we really didn't have to do. The unit on the side, if you can see, it looks like someone backed over it. So we had to get a new AC unit. Like absolutely everything was fresh in the house.
And so it cost you 96,000 for another major remodel. I'm gonna.
Travis.
What type of financing did you use for that?
So we used hard money with Longhorn, and since we got such a good deal on it, we had 100% financing on the purchase price and the rehab. So we brought 12,000 cash to close.
Nice. Very cool.
From start to finish.
Too long, no. Yeah, and we were expecting to hold it for 4 months, we held it for 8. So, hence the hating the
In
contract.
my experience, I recommend 2-3 customers. They bought a house like that and they put new siding and new roofing. That not what that house, that different house.
Yes.
And they said no, it's too much money. It's not too much money actually. Siding like $8,000, roofing like the same thing. And turn exactly double the money for them. The siding. When a customer walking the yard, they said, "Wow, like they're getting good, positive attitude to it."
Curb appeal matters.
Also.
No, the contract. So here's another thing. The contractor lied to us, strung us along for like 3 months. He's like, yeah, the windows ordered. Now they're back ordered back. And everybody else was like, yeah, the windows are delayed. So I was like, oh, well, he's telling the truth. gets to the end of like 2.5 months and he admits to lying about ordering the windows. So that beautiful house has no new windows. So we're just like, great, everything is new except for the windows. Enjoy it. Like, go get you some new windows. It's not bad.
Sure.
I'm going to run through, I'll wrap up just a couple tools, right? And then if anyone needs to go, we've got questions. We've gone later than we planned, and I'm glad everyone's been here. Thanks for being here so much. If you're looking, just basic rules, if you're trying to figure out what our square footage is, right? We're looking at our above ground finish total square footage. That's the total we're looking at when we're looking at square footage. I'm also going to cross-reference tax records too and try to look at the sketch, and figure out like a disparity there. That can be off. So you want to check some sources. Like you don't want to go just off of that. And I've seen it be wildly off on listings we have. It is, if you need someone to go measure, I've got an appraisal that will go out there for less than $100 and measure for you, which if you're looking on tax records, right?
Yeah, they're a great resource to use in general because they're at least going to give you that like above ground finished. You can take into some account if there is, say, a walkout basement. It's still going to show that it's there, but it might not show if it's a fully finished space on there. But we're really just trying to get a good idea for our total building area in this. You're just trying to figure out the highest number of like finished square feet you could actually get out of this property.
Because what I'm looking at is, again, if I'm the reason we're having this as a heuristic, keep in mind, this is like how to estimate renovations. On the fly, when I'm thinking about making offers, that's the whole point of all this, and I'm glad we're going so deep is, okay, what's the maximum square footage? Because I want to know the maximum square footage if I'm going off of a per square footage basement. It's only in my favor if I find out I have less square footage and I've overestimated our renovation costs and I had an offer accepted. Make sense? Yeah, fantastic. All right.
Yep.
Last thing, Cory, here.
But
right?
understanding that even that tax record is not going to be the most accurate, but it is like consistent enough to be able to utilize on your estimates. That's just when you're going to go out there. If it looks good to that point on this kind of back of a napkin math that we're working with here, it's on your inspections, it's on your walkthrough that you're wanting to go ahead and make sure, just verify, measure everything out, make sure all this kind of computes. That way when you're going back and really re-looking at the math, that a lot of this is going to shake out.
But like I'm looking at a house in Alcoa right now for a listing, and I know it's off by 700 square feet because it just doesn't make sense. Like the finished, unfinished area and the finished basement, the numbers just don't track. Like, right, it's inverted the way they have it listed, which makes a wild difference on, right, like pricing. All right.
Questions, queries,
comments, concerns.
Cory, your second deal, when you doubled your repair cost, if you could go back, what would you do different?
Not a lot, to be honest with you. It all still made sense, like on paper, and I knew I had the buffer in there that if I went over, like I bought it right enough that I could like afford to go over. I knew that, and even when I was underwriting, this is way back, I bought that thing in August of last year, something like that. Rates were way different in August of last year, right? They were still trending up. They really kind of peaked around like, I guess, November-ish, and then it's kind of bounced a little bit around since then. When I was underwriting it, I was underwriting it at like refinancing it like 7%, 8%, 9% even, and the numbers like still made sense enough to me that I went ahead and like pulled the trigger on it. Because like when at times I can be very impulsive, and there's other times, Justin's known me a while, like I like to really take my time and sit back and really think through and think. And that was at least one that it all still made sense enough that, cool, let's go for it, right? It's going to be really hard to lose, in essence. I mean, I'm close, but I'm still coming out positive, even if I liquidate it, which I don't intend to. If I did, I'm still going to come out ahead. I could afford that buffer. It's all about essentially buying it right. That's going to cure everything else on the backside. So there's really nothing I would necessarily change or do different at the end of the day. Just be prepared. Like I knew that, hey, there's a chance that I could just hit this thing for like 50 grand and smoke it, or there's a chance that I could go way over budget and time, which I have, and I'm still going to come out ahead.
Cool.
Yeah, totally. Jason.
I just initiated a HELOC with TVA Credit Union yesterday, 7.5% fixed rate.
Solid. Great. That's awesome.
Is that on your primary?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 7.5 fixed rate, very important.
That's fantastic to get that fixed. Yeah.
That is awesome. And aren't you, that's the strategy you're using to fund a lot of this cash is the HELOC?
It's a mix.
On your primary?
It's been some of it's been like active income that I've made that's kind of gone into that. Some of that's been HELOC. It's kind of a mix of both. I'm not a fan of trying to get like too over leveraged on like any of them. But in this case, like I'm using a mix of funds. Some sales, had a good year so far, thankfully, right? Knock on wood. And then some of the rest of it's just been kind of like HELOC money going into that. And again, that's one like I've got that condo going up for sale this weekend. So if anyone knows like a 1% buyer down in Florida, that's going to be a killer deal for somebody. Those apartments rent all day long for $1,500 a month. So for somebody to go buy that for like $140.
If someone wants that, that's an area that Cory and I are both from. Go Hustlers. I went to school down in Brevard County. We're both from Melbourne. Families are there. We've got resources. Cory can connect you with a property manager if you talk to him after the meeting.
How close to Key West?
Not close. not close. But you are like 10 minutes from the beach. It's a straight shot like from Orlando to Cocoa Beach. Some people might have heard of like Cocoa Beach or Cape Canaveral. So you would have to drive past that condo to get to Cocoa Beach. It's 10 minutes away, if that.
Yeah.
What's that?
What's the HOA fees on that?
Right now, $115 a month. And that covers your water, sewer, trash pickup, and then there's a community pool there as well that they maintain.
Doesn't cover the exterior of the unit though, does it?
They take care of the roof, all that's like built into it.
Insurance and all?
You do have insurance for like the interior contents, but they do the exterior piece of it. It's a solid spot. It's a good one. The HOA guy's fantastic. The manager of that, super good dude. He's all over it. I mean, he really runs like a pretty tight ship around there. Trust me, he's called me plenty of times with my contracting crew. So
Brevard County's dope.
It is. It's a great place. It's definitely one of the emerging areas of this country. Great tech sector. I mean, that's where you're seeing like SpaceX, Blue Origin. A lot of this stuff, a lot of that government contracting is based out of there.
Yes.
It's only going to keep growing.
Thank you for coming to our sales pitch. You buy this condo, you get a set of steak knives.
Yep.
No. Thank you all for being here. So a couple things that are really, really important, especially as we move, especially as we go forward here. Would really love if you can leave us a review, right? The more we grow this community, I think the better it is for all of us. And I love seeing so many familiar faces here. And I love seeing new people come in here. So thanks to everyone that's coming here for the first time. Please come back. We're glad you're here. RSVP, so gridknoxville.com. If you go on there, let us sign up. We're going to be throwing a sick party. Nick has said there's no budget that's too big. No, we are going to throw. It's a very nice space. We came out there when they threw their March Madness party. And it's really set up in a way that's a little more conducive to networking because it's all one space. I think we're going to love it. Like it's going to be, we're going to have the best meetup in town for what we're doing, right? In terms of the space we're going to.
There's spaces where we could do breakout sessions at some point if that's, the way the meetings evolves. And, I think there's a lot we can do there.
That's cool.
And we're going to send out, connect in the room. We're going to send out a directory, right? So if you want to be involved, PM us if you want us to highlight you. Last thing, be prepared with a great elevator pitch. We're going to have an opportunity to just practice it, work on it. We videotape these, we're creating content. Help us help you. And if you want some help, I'm happy to talk to any of you about nailing that elevator pitch for us for next time because we want to help highlight all y'all. We got a great plan. You're going to love it.
Yep.
Cory, any final words?
No, man. Thanks.
Go get some deals.
Go get some deals. Let's go make some happen.
And connect in the room, guys.
See it.